Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Healthy Vibrations. It's a very different podcast today. I'm very pleased to bring to you Kiki with us. She is Kiki Matoba. She's an energy healer based in Los Angeles. And I just had an energy healing session with her about 2 days ago, and I felt absolutely fantastic. I felt like all my toxins were cleared out. I felt like all my aches and pains went away. Anything that was holding me back just left my body. And this was an online session. And as you're probably aware, if you've known me for a while, you also know that I'm a big believer in energy. And I'm very careful about who I surround in my circle, the people that I hang out with, the energy, the negative energy impact that it has on when you communicate with people who are not the kind of people that you want to associate with. I'm a big believer of all of that. And that's the reason that I bring Kiki to you today. And I know that your generation, the youth of today, you guys struggle with a lot of anxiety. Some of the basic things that I see in a lot of people is anxiety, self-doubt, and stuff like that. And I think energy can really help with healing all of those problems. So with that, I'm very happy to bring to you Kiki, who's an intuitive guide. She uses energy medicine to help empaths and sensitive people release negativity and experience deep relaxation and peace. She's also a Reiki master, and with certifications in meditation, crystals, chakra balancing, one of my favorite things, and sound healing. She's been featured in Los Angeles Times and specializes in online distance healing and serves people from all over the world. She's been doing this for the past 8 years and has been helping people transform their energies, which empowers them to live happier and healthier lives. And I think everybody who comes across my profile should definitely listen to this podcast, and if needed, reach out to Kiki, because she's absolutely amazing. And energy plays an important part in our life. As we practice self-love, as we practice boundaries, it's very important to understand what energy is, what your energy field is, and how it can impact you. With that, let's hand it over to Kiki. Welcome, Kiki. Lovely to have you here today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So tell us, our audience is primarily the youth who are probably listening to this. It'd be very interesting to know from you, what is energy healing?
So energy healing is clearing our energy field of any blockages that can be caused by emotions, negative thought patterns, other people's energies. And so energy healing helps us clear our energy field and allows the energy to flow, because energy naturally wants to be in constant motion. And so when the energy gets stuck, we can start feeling anxiety, depression, even physical pain, and even can get sick. So energy healing helps the energy to flow more fluidly through our bodies, and which then also allows our bodies to heal itself and kind of get rebalanced and reharmonize into a state of homeostasis, so that everything can function optimally and naturally.
And the way it's supposed to, right?
Yeah.
Very well articulated. So I've heard a lot about, and I know about the energy field, but I think it's imperative to give your views on what is an energy field and how does it impact your life.
Yeah.
So our youth can be more careful and understand the impact that energy has on their lives, and why do they fall into depression and self-doubt and anxiety and all of that stuff.
Yeah. So everything has an energy field, and ones that are particularly strong are the ones that are electromagnetic. So we can think of technology or devices. They have an energy field as well. that can drain our natural organic energy field. And it's quite measurable now with modern science. And they've discovered that our heart actually has the strongest biomagnetic field on the human body. And so it detects information from outside of us seconds before the mind does. And so things that make us feel a certain way can affect us, and then it can feel like anxiety, it can feel like self-doubt, it can feel like overwhelm. And we need to take breaks from other people's energies, so crowded spaces, take breaks from our electronics and our devices, and do things like going into nature and grounding our bodies, because the earth actually has an ionosphere. So it has these negative ions that neutralize the positive ions that our electromagnetic field is attracting. And it's kind of funny it can be kind of confusing to think like positive ions versus negative ions. It's not good or bad. It's actually more of a scientific, like magnetic field. And so, yes, the earth gives off negative ions to neutralize the positive ions of high frequency fields from technology and electricity. And so since we're constantly surrounded by that, it's important to like neutralize our body, because even that, so sometimes it's not even another person or an actual argument or something we've had, but for some reason we feel off, we feel a little anxious, we feel a little hyperactive. It's because all the energy around us is just overwhelming our field. And so, so things like grounding, walking in nature, taking an Epsom salt bath can actually kind of soothe and calm our energy field.
Very interesting. So it's not a hoo-ha, it's actually scientific.
Yes, there's a lot of science.
There is science behind it. So when somebody says, what are you talking about, energy, there's really a science behind it. So thank you for explaining that. And I think you said a very key point on devices. We're all glued to devices nowadays, whether that's a computer, whether that's a phone or anything else. How does that impact? How and why does that impact? You mentioned it briefly, but how does that impact your energy field? And what can you do to be more conscious about it and then get away from it? Like you said, people get reactive, or people get hyperactive at times, or anxious. So it's not like there is a feeling, of course, there's a feeling coming inside of you, and that's why you're behaving anxious or hyperactive, but it's also your surroundings. It's that energy field again. Right?
Yes.
So what do specifically devices do, and what do you suggest as a healer? What do you suggest the youth should do with their devices? What is the time that they should be on the devices or keep them away to protect themselves?
So it is important to take a break from our devices, because not only are we receiving the electromagnetic fields, the EMFs from the devices, but it's also influencing our thoughts and our minds, what we are seeing, what we're absorbing, the information that's being exposed to us. And so it's a combination of these electronic devices affecting us physically as well as emotionally and mentally. And so yes, it's imperative that we take breaks from this. Even unplugging the Wi-Fi every night so that we're not sleeping with it, making sure that our device is on airplane mode and that the Wi-Fi is turned off, because as we're sleeping, we can even be absorbing this high frequency magnetic field that is just not good for our health. It's been discovered to create tumors in brains, and and then again creating that anxiousness. Turning off our devices maybe an hour before we go to bed, and so because that blue light from the device can kind of create that hyperactive mode, kind of trick our circadian rhythm, our sleep rhythm, into thinking that it's time to be awake, and so that's why it's harder to fall asleep. And so kind of being self-aware of that timing and how much time we do spend on our devices. I don't know if you've ever noticed, sometimes if you're on your device too long, your body starts to heat up and you kind of get flustered and hot. That's the electricity kind of overwhelming your system. And so, turning off the devices, disconnecting from Wi-Fi, even grounding and cording your electronic devices can be very helpful as well. And then turning them off, disconnecting, going outside, taking some deep breaths of fresh air, sitting at the base of a tree to neutralize your energy field, taking an Epsom salt bath to cleanse your energy, and that's particularly cleanses the emotional field. So we can do things like that.
So thank you. Now, I am a yoga instructor and a yoga practitioner, and I do it every day. So it's very easy for me to follow the grounding techniques. But as you know, our youth are super busy and they're tied into so many things. What are some of the ways that you can do some quick grounding in a busy life?
Yeah.
Just to kind of wash off that energy and connect to the earth. What are some of the things that you can do?
Ooh, that's a great question. It's simply sitting in a peaceful moment and visualizing grounding. So you can be in your home. You don't necessarily have to go somewhere else, but just sitting, maybe even playing like a 5-minute song that's soothing to you, maybe one that doesn't have any lyrics to them. So you're not kind of trying to process the words. Just a soothing song, a song that you love, that makes you feel calm and at peace, that just makes your heart sing. Closing your eyes, listening to that 5-minute song, and just taking slow, deep breaths into your belly and releasing it through your mouth. It's super simple, and just visualizing your body being filled with purifying oxygen, and then breathing it out and blowing it out like you're blowing out a candle, because then that in itself can be this practice for your body to clear out any blockages, anything that feels stuck in your body. So it can be something as simple as that.
That's beautiful. Thank you. That is one of the ways. And often what I do also, Kiki, is I step out bare feet and I walk in, there's a field behind my house, and I go walk bare feet in the field when I feel like I'm feeling a little bit out of it and I've taken some kind of energy. So do you think that's also a good way to kind of ground yourself, right?
Absolutely.
Mother Earth, because especially in colleges and schools, people are so busy running in between classes that sometimes it's very hard to find even that 5 peaceful minutes, right? Mm-hmm. So even if they want to walk or take those 5 minutes, you can find grounding in all that madness that you're experiencing. So the anxiety and the self-doubt that you're experiencing has a lot to do with what you're taking in the form of energy. And if you were to be cognizant of that fact, of what you're taking in, then you can reduce half your anxiety and half your self-doubt. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely. I think a practice of self-awareness and tuning into your intuition and all of your senses, like what is your how does your body feeling? What is your body telling you? And that in itself has this really beautiful intelligence. Like our body never lies. And so if it's feeling a certain way, that's a signal to us that something needs to shift, something needs to change in order for us to come back to that place of harmony, balance, and peace. And so really trusting in the guidance from the physical sensations in your body, trusting that gut feeling, or that silent voice in our head that says stop, or don't do it, or don't go there. Like if you're invited to a house party and you have this gut feeling that's kind of weird and off, or like you hear this like silent voice in your head saying don't go, listen to that and consider what that's saying to you, because that is your higher self. That is your intuitive inner knowing, your gut instincts telling you like that is not going to be good for you, that something possibly will happen that is not for your highest good, not safe for you. So yeah, I think that self-awareness is so important.
And listening to your gut, that's a big one that you said. Mm-hmm. I said just that feeling, that knowing feeling in your stomach that there's something not right is normally right?
Exactly.
I'm a big believer of that. I think we all need to kind of listen a little more to our gut and slowing down, creating space. Because how do you become self-aware? Especially for our youth who are going to colleges and schools, and they're surrounded by so many things that they have to do, and they're overwhelmed and with their devices. How do you become self-aware? So what do you do? What are some of the ways that you suggest?
I think you made a really good point, Dr. Unnatti, is that is slowing down. And so taking like that 5 minutes of time to deeply breathe and kind of tune back into your physical body and into your inner your inner knowing. And doing that on a regular basis is actually what's going to help you build up that self-awareness, help you build up that intuition. Is kind of like a muscle that we actually have. It's there and it's available to everyone, but it's about the practice of tuning into it and trusting it. And so slowing down and taking time to respond or process an offer. Somebody asks you to do something and there's something in you that's kind of delaying the yes. And so allowing yourself time and space to process and knowing that you don't necessarily have to give a person a definitive answer right away, and allowing yourself to kind of sit with the idea, see how it feels in your body. And, and many times the yes, it feels expansive and uplifting and joyful and happy. And the no feels very constricting, and it feels like you're weighing yourself down, and it stresses you out, and it kind of gives you, it gives you a little heart palpitations, gives you a little bit of feelings of anxiety. That's a clear no that's being communicated to you through your bodily feelings and sensations.
So feel more, right? I said, allow yourself to feel those emotions, to feel that discomfort, and that you can only feel when you're creating space and when you're alone and when you're giving yourself the time and space to understand who you are, so that you can understand where your energy is going and then be able to call that energy back.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, absolutely. And that's kind of how our energy field becomes stronger, when we're tuning into ourselves, slowing down, kind of stepping outside and stepping away from the static and the noise and the busyness of everyday life, of being around a lot of people. Giving yourself that time alone is quite healthy, and allowing you to tune into your truth. And then that over time, that builds stronger and stronger. And then you are so much clearer about your needs and what is for your highest good, what is the healthy choices for you. And then it's much easier to say no. It's much easier to block out the energies that, and even step away from relationships that don't serve you any longer, or that have this negative impact in your life.
Very interesting. Thank you, Kiki. You've got me on to the next point exactly with this, which is that you struggle a lot with relationships. And as you mentioned, your energy fields becomes stronger as you practice honing into yourself, right? So that takes me on to my next question. You have so many relationships around you as teenagers or as young adults. How can you protect your energy from somebody who does not practice all of these things, or who's not so self-aware? How can you make sure that you don't get caught up in all of that or take on their negative energy?
Yeah, you know that you have the power to make a choice in every situation, including that choice of stepping away or walking away. Even if this person pursues you and kind of harasses you, again, the less that you respond, the less that you interact and react, eventually they're going to just give up and walk away. And so it's knowing that you always have a choice in every moment. Do you want to feed that energy and attract more of it to you? Or are you choosing to release it and walk away from it? And again, as we start to work on our own energy field, we tend to start vibrating at a higher frequency, which then almost kind of like when you think about like a radio and you're tuning to all the different stations, and so you tune to perhaps hip hop. And so then if you're into that music, then everything around you attracts that type of culture. People that are also into hip hop, perhaps the fashion and the language around it. And so you start to attract it because that's what you are interested in. Or you tune it to, heavy metal, and then the fashion around that and the people that are into that, you start to attract people that are into that type of genre. And so you can kind of consider your energy field like that, where you are tuning into a certain frequency. And then many times when you're at a certain frequency, other things just drop away and people kind of don't even see you sometimes, because you're on a whole nother different frequency than they are.
So is it safe to say be what you want to attract?
Yes, I love that. Yep, exactly.
Your
Like
input
attracts
can change
like.
your output. Nowadays, my favorite sentence is your input can change your output.
Yes.
You can change your output simply by your input. So yes, so be who you want to attract. Be that kind of a person. And then you won't attract negativity. And the minute you sense negativity, you need to step away from it.
Exactly. Yep. Healthy boundaries, walking away, to not feeding that energy that you don't want to experience and live in yourself.
And when you feel ungrounded, take those things, and we will summarize at the end as to what are the small things that we can do to feel more grounded, more situated in ourselves. So that's one thing we said, protect your energy. Now, a lot of youngsters go through a lot of anxiety and self-doubt. What do you think they can do as immediate remedies if they're having, let's say, a panic attack or an anxiety attack, or they have an exam that they're going to and they're sitting there and doubting themselves? What are some of the things that they can do, practice, to get out of that energetic field?
I am a big believer in the power of breath work. So oxygen in itself is a life force energy. We need to breathe, and it is kind of the only function in our body that we can do autonomically. So it just automatically happens naturally, and then we can actually consciously control our breathing. And so when we're feeling overwhelmed or out of control, or we're feeling that kind of panic attack coming on, or that overwhelming sense of anxiety, breath actually recenters us and brings us back and reminds us that we do have control over every situation. And so kind of stepping away from whatever is triggering you and allowing yourself to start to do, I think one of the most common ones is the box breath. And so just taking counts of breath, like maybe 4 counts of in-breath, holding that in-breath for 4 counts, exhaling for 4 counts, and holding that out-breath for 4 counts. And so, yeah, I think breath work is a very powerful practice for immediate relief and kind of recalibrating ourselves, rebalancing ourselves, getting us back into the now moment. It's a really powerful practice.
So breath work it can really help with anxiety and with self-doubt. So even if you take those few moments before your exam or before you're going to anything that you're scared of or fear is taking over, use the box breath to kind of get yourself in the moment. Take 4 deep breaths in, hold it for a count of 4, and then exhale for a count of 4. That definitely will help you. So that's another thing. Now, moving on to my last question, Kiki, in the interest of time. You have a lot of clients and you do regular healing. How often is it, do you prescribe people to show up for a healing session?
It depends on where the person is in their life. I would say maybe once a month is a pretty good schedule in the beginning, and we're working towards, you no longer needing it in a sense, but it is kind of like it's kind of like a massage where you can feel when you need it, and it's working towards a certain goal of releasing old energy, past energy, and maintaining your own energy. And so meeting with an energy healer maybe about once a month for maybe about 6 months could be helpful to kind of get you into the groove of reconnecting, releasing other outside energy, and then reconnecting to your own energy.
Thank you. That's super helpful. And I am a living example. I just had the healing session and I felt completely brand new. So thank you, Kiki, for that session. So in the interest of time, let's just summarize a little bit on what Kiki has shared with us, which I think is extremely beneficial. Stay off your devices. I think you can clear your energy field if you manage to keep your devices away for at least 10 minutes or 15 minutes at a time every hour. you can kind of feel a little more grounded and come back to yourself. Again, she mentioned some grounding techniques, and Kiki, please feel free to add in if I missed something. One was listening to something, some kind of a soothing music, just for 5 minutes at a stretch where you feel out of yourself, or you feel like you're not, there is something going on with you, or your energy is not balanced. So feel free to listen to that, and I'm sure you get a lot of those energy healing music on YouTube. If you want something free, you can go onto YouTube and listen to it. I walk a lot outside bare feet just to kind of feel when I feel out of sorts, and I know my energy is kind of a little bit scattered. I do that. And then, of course, allowing space. We are constantly surrounded by people, things, devices, happenings. Like, life is so busy. So taking out those 10 minutes or 5 minutes just to feel yourself, feel your emotions, where is your energy going, what are you feeling right now? Because if you don't understand what you're feeling, then you're probably not able to even solve it or figure out, how to get rid of that emotion. So first is the ability to be alone and feel those emotions. And then lastly, the box breath, which is extremely, I think, is important, where if you're having a panic attack, or if you're going through some kind of anxiety or self-doubt, use the box breath. Inhale for a count of 4, hold it for a count of 4, and then exhale for a count of 4. And all these things will help you bring you back into the moment. And your energy is super important. Keep it very close to your heart. Don't let any negativity come around you, and if possible, go to an energy healer once a month to kind of clean you out and feel new. Yes,
well
Kiki,
said.
anything
Yes.
that I missed?
I mentioned the Epsom salt bath, so that is also another go-to. Yes, cleanse that really clears out the emotional field. And then the Epsom salt baths contain magnesium. So make sure that you get a salt bath that has magnesium, which is a mineral that helps soothe the muscles, relieves anxiety, and helps you sleep.
Wonderful. Yes, magnesium, you won't get cramps. I go to the yoga studio every day, and they have magnesium there, and anytime you get cramps, that'll heal you. So you take magnesium and do Epsom salt baths. Wonderful. Thank you, Kiki. This was an extremely informational session. I'm sure a lot of people will benefit from this. I will put your details in along with the session, along with the podcast. So if anybody wants to get in touch with you for an energy healing session, they'll be happy to. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
It was wonderful to have you, Kiki. You have a wonderful rest of the day. Take care.
You too.